This one is titled as Fear of Flying, India's Banks and Cloud Hesitation. Again, a very relevant topic. I'm going to invite in our panelists to please join us in. This is going to be moderated by Athreya Ramadas, co-founder and CTO for Rapida Cloud Solutions Private Limited. If you could join us to moderate this session. And he'd be moderating our panelist, who would be Mr. Sanjay Prasad, head of BFSI India, Mo Engage. And along with him, Mr. Prakash, Senior Business Development Leader, Banking and Enterprise, India and SAARC region, Thales. I request three gentlemen to please join us in. Let's get it yet into another engaging one. And this time, let's talk about another buzzword, cloud, of course. Over to you, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hello? Yeah, hi. Great. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Hi, Sanjay. Hi, Ved.
Hey, hi.
Coming straight into the topic, we have worked on over 500 plus projects in India, being in the cloud service provider business. And also especially working with over 25% of them as FinTechs and BFSI customers. What do you think are top three barriers with, maybe if you can take the first question, and tell me what are the three barriers that banking specifically takes? Because we see FinTechs adopt cloud very quickly. So banking is a little below or behind overall. So what do you think are the top three barriers there?
Great, a very relevant question and very pertinent to the event that is being called out today. I think most of the FinTech players would also benefit from this messaging that we have come across with interaction with the customers, that the number one challenge with the cloud adoption is about data sovereignty. Now, sovereignty, if you see, means authority or taking control. And when you are moving the data to the cloud, you are handing over the control to the cloud service provider, which brings you certain risks, which means it can be potentially accessed. And from Thales or security parlance, what is considered to be potentially accessed is actually accessed. I mean, so your vulnerability from the data, from theft side, from the data breach perspective gets quite relevant. Then other important ask would be around how do I justify the legal and the internal compliance mandates, which ask you to protect or have the sensitive data abide with the data privacy laws, and definitely meet the obligations with respect to the regulatory mandates that there. And third and most important, again, I have seen is on the cost and budgeting. So this does look surprising that most of the people do talk that cloud basically minimizes the cost, but when you look at in terms of the resources, the staff that are deployed to manage the security, to run and orchestrate the workloads spread in multi-cloud environment becomes a costly affair if it is not managed efficiently through an automation process. So these are top three concern areas for the banks to address in having the cloud adoption journey.
Great. Thank you, Ved. So I think you hit on the nail on the table, right? So especially on the cost optimization side, even on the data privacy and data sovereignty that you're talking about, it's important that we put a process and appropriate service provider to protect that, to go ahead, right? So when it comes to, we all know why people move to cloud. Maybe Sanjay, we know why people move to cloud. They want to respond quickly. They want to go fast. They want to make changes quickly, reach to their customers quickly as well. Being in the industry of customer engagement, what are the other things or benefits that a customer sees if he moves to cloud, especially in the area of customer engagement and building business on top of it when it comes to cloud migration?
Sure. Thanks a lot for that question, Athreya. I think the best way to answer this is going with some level of statistics. Statistics where IDC has said that by 2024, 80% of banks will move to cloud. Simple statistics that we read day to day, things like For example, I was just reading yesterday that with digitization, the MSME lending, it has achieved a level where 98.7% of payments in 2021 was done digitally as compared to 92% the previous year. So saying all that, what does cloud bring to picture? So one is, of course, the infrastructural cost. I do agree with Ved that if it is not managed in a proper way and there are situations, if you see 5-year TCO, in cases it can even be more than the perpetual cost and things like that. So infrastructure, but if it is done in the right way, infrastructure is the freedom where customers get. Second is reachability, and that's where MoEngage comes into picture. How you can reach more in a faster way, how you can reach omni-channel. And like if I speak more on statistic of omni-channel, they say the best way of retention is omni-channel engagement. It can kind of result in 89% more improved and better way of retention. So these two are the primary thing. Third is, not just about infrastructure freedom, but saving of cost, and it also allows you to do other things, better things, rather than, trying to build your own systems, trying to manage the whole things yourself. So necessarily these 3 or 4 things essentially are why, the benefits of moving to cloud. Last, the fourth most important is, today's era, if you are not digitizing faster, and when I'm saying digitizing, it's like adopting. We are in a FinTech event, yeah? It's all about how fast I can deploy a payment technology, how fast I can deploy various solutions. So if I'm not able to A, deploy it fast, B, learn fast, be able to experiment, be agile and flexible, that's what cloud brings to you and allowing you to do that.
Great, thanks Sanjay. So it's very important, apart from deploying the right way, reaching out, business is the main thing, right? Infrastructure is just the enabler. So we have to deploy it the right way by making sure we know what are the things that we are doing with the right set of processes and tools put in place to achieve and reach out to our customers in the most efficient fashion. Now, given banking is more, as Ved pointed out, it is more data sovereignty, PII. The main fear for all the banking sector customers is because they have PII data. We have seen in many places like Capital One and other things where data has been stolen. They're more worried about data gets stolen. So, Ved, just to ask you, given that you are a security-focused company, what are the ways that Thales Group offers, or what do you guys prefer in banking industry to protect some of this PII data whenever it is on cloud? Because typical understanding is that if it is on-prem, I have complete control. If it is on cloud, somebody else is controlling it. That's the general feeling. What are the things, according to you, can be done to protect it better?
So Athreya, this is where Thales technology really has been instrumental in helping the banks and all the enterprises that are looking for cloud adoption or accelerating the journey in cloud by giving them the first assurance on data security, where we give them advantage of bringing their own security when they are taking a journey in cloud. What specifically I mean by this is that while you would be using the native encryption facilities given by the cloud service provider, but you would own the control of the encryption keys. You can change, rotate, or delete the keys at your leisure, which helps you to first address the problem areas in key visibility. Because earlier, when cloud service provider were just managing your data, their privileged users, system admins, or root users can access and see the data, which no organization would like to have. So that definitely gives you one advantage. The second important piece would be in terms of automation when you are spread across multi-cloud environment. Especially, it becomes very difficult and manual efforts are put in to manage when you are spread across multiple subscriptions. So that is where the automation of the key lifecycle management, right from the time you create these encryption keys to distribute, to rotate, to archive, it's end-to-end life cycle, which is another pain area that we are addressing from this. And then third, as I called out, especially banks are highly regulated industry. And there are guidelines from RBI and IDRBT that clearly calls out that bank being the owner should have the control of the data. and not the cloud service provider. And to augment that, even cloud service providers publishes shared responsibility model, which clearly demonstrates the accountability on the user side as well as on the cloud service provider. So be it your infrastructure as a service environment or platform as a service or software as a service, the security of the data responsibility lies with the user. And that's where Thales provides you a platform so that you don't need to reinvest time and again as you are moving up into your cloud journey to spreading in multi-cloud by giving you a single point of control to manage your data security concerns centrally. And the name of this platform is Cypher Trust Platform. So we have definitely helped most of the large and the early adopters of this technology who took their journey in cloud by giving them these advantages of the security in concern.
Great, thanks, Ved. So just to kind of give a little bit more insight on why products like these are important, is that when customers are moving to cloud and they want agility, they want speed. So to automate some of these, we work with customers on a continuous basis on how we can automate some of these, their product deployments. How can we automate the rotation of keys that you talked about? How can a customer get a visibility onto how his infrastructure is deployed? And for example, an S3 bucket, if it is in public, it's a major problem for everybody, whether it is a bank itself or a fintech or anybody who is storing the data. So it becomes important that we put in the right measures and the right processes overall. And using tools like yours, we are tied up with HashiCorp, for example. So they help us to maintain a single key across different clouds, multi-clouds. Terraform will help you to be uniform across different clouds. That overall helps you. Thanks a lot, Ved. Now, Sanjay, given you are an insight-led customer engagement platform, and everybody knows that data is the world which is there. We have also have a data analytics team who will help customers to build data, what can be the insights that they can be got out of it. Given that day in, day out, you get lots of data into your platform, and especially the analysis of data makes more sense rather than data being there itself. So how do you think, especially when data is moving to cloud, and given that you are also heading BFSI business, where the customer's data is coming into your platform, how do you handle these issues today? Or I would not call it issues, how do you handle these cases where there'll be questions on how will you maintain the data and what are the things that you do?
Thanks for that question, Athreya. But frankly speaking, you all have already answered this question. Ved spoke about rotation of keys, Ved spoke about best practices, automation in key management and all. When we are working with BFSI, and as you said, I'm leading the BFSI business, the whole adoption of cloud starts with first thing, whether the data center itself is in India or not. If I go to rbi.docs.cx and all, there's a whole lot of guidelines by RBI, similarly by IRDA, SEBI and all, on how do you manage data, how do you manage cloud and things like that. So that's to start with. So whether it be data at rest or even if it's S3, doesn't matter. So whether it's an S3, whether it's data at rest, whether it's data in movement, everything is encrypted, everything is managed by key. We work with large banks, we work with IndusInd Bank, we work with largest of the NBFCs like Hero FinCorp, Bajaj and all. Everyone has their own methodology of maintaining security. So we work very closely in, okay, you guys want to rotate your own keys, go ahead, feel free, we'll do that. Okay, you guys want this methodology of transfer of data, which you also want to maintain, we allow do that. Besides the fact that we ourselves are encrypting the data, we ourselves are securing the data, and each customer has its own data separately. And this is one part of it. Second is, what is the data that we keep? We are keeping only that data which makes these large organizations engage with their customers real time in the moment of truth. You know, someone is about to apply for a home loan. Someone is about to, do a fixed deposit. Someone is about to take a personal loan. At that moment, if I am able to engage with them when it's dropping, when it's not doing the action, or someone likes SIPs more than scripts, and accordingly I'm nurturing or nudging my engagement more around SIPs rather than trying to sell an IPO and all to them. That is what we are doing. So these kind of behavioral data and all is not a threat in cloud. However, yes, to personalize, we do maintain things like name, if required, the email ID and cell numbers, which is PII for some banks, may not be PII for everyone. But we even go to the extent of maintaining pseudo IDs or hash IDs so that customers are relieved that I'm actually not maintaining the real data, it's all a mass data. So we go to that extent of making cloud very easily adoptable, deployable, without any compromise to a RBI regulatory compliance or an IRDA regulatory compliance or a SEBI regulatory compliance.
Great. Sanjay, just to add on to that question, you might be talking to different banks. So when it comes to, what is your say on why my product is hosted on cloud? Like, how will you convince the bank that why is it advantageous to store it on your platform, and what is the conviction in, I mean, how has been the acceptance overall? Because the idea is that things are moving from why cloud to why not cloud now. I know it's taking a little bit more time on the banking side rather than on the fintech side, but how has been your experience talking to these banking customers to adopt, especially because you are impacting directly their business and customer through your customer engagement. So how has been their acceptance on using your platform, which is on cloud?
I'll answer. I'll start this answer with some analogies. One from my customer, one not from my customer. So if one of the biggest sponsor, CoinDCX, we know what kind of weather they're going through, and it's not just started now. It started a year back when there was, a lot of talks around RBI disallowing, not allowing, etc. What is required at this time? The biggest thing required is to be able to communicate, engage with your customers, give them assurance that, hey, we are backing it up, don't worry, or sometimes even when liquidation was not allowed and those kind of things. Now, how am I be able to real-time engage with them, quickly respond to them? That is where this platform plays a important role. Second analogy what I would like to give, we all know with the recent RBI barring the top fintechs, to load credit lines and wallets, right? That has largely impacted the top fintechs like Uni,
Dhani, etc. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, how did they respond? I'm like, one of the top firms among them, what they did was they immediately moved to term finance. And the first thing that they did is communicate with their customers. Hey, you continue with your consumer buying and all. What we will do is, based on your credibility and things like that, we'll enable term finance to you. Now, what my platform plays a role out here, and every customer that we have, I mean, you can come to my booth, you will have uplifts in each category of the customer life cycle. Be it acquisition, how much percentage it has gone up, be it onboarding, how onboarding has improved 1.5x times, 2x times, things like that. Be it your engagement, how has, like, let's take CoinDCX for example. It has resulted in 80% more activation of people coming into the app again as compared to, yeah, crypto, let me register, let me sign, and then being dormant. No. If I'm engaging in the right way, if I'm engaging with the right nudges, with the right communication, right information, they come back, and relevant and contextual information, they come back to the app, they become active. So that's another example. Again, upselling, cross-selling, or for that matter, even retention, because the customers are engaged, obviously, the churn gets reduced, the retention gets better. I'm like, that's how we work with all the NBFCs, be it Piramal, be it FinCorp, Hero FinCorp and all this. So that is how we go to the customers and say that we are providing all this with the huge flexibility, allowing you to experiment, creating new journeys, all the journeys empowered with AI and ML on the back end, because I'm continuously learning. Is this the best way? Is this giving me my maximum efficacy? Is this the most optimized way of getting higher conversions, higher engagement and all? And for that, besides AI and ML, I'm monitoring the whole process. It's when I say I'm monitoring, the business team is monitoring, the marketing is monitoring, the IT is monitoring, hey, what's the TCO, what's the outcome, what's the uplifts and things like that. So that is the story that we are going with to the banks, to the NBFCs, to the large security players like IFL or Anand Rathi or Motilal Oswal and all, and they found huge value. And last but not the least, most important is everyone is doing this today, frankly speaking. And how are they doing? Yes, they are engaging maybe in an email SMS. They are engaging in a push notification. They are engaging on the website. They are engaging on WhatsApp, on IVR calls, but siloed applications for each one of them. MoEngage brings the world together. If I talk of IndusInd Bank today, they will be having one single platform. They already started it. One single platform to do all this engagement. One single platform to bring all the analytics together. One single platform to empower this with AI and ML. So that's the difference we present to all this, financial organization.
Great. Thanks, Sanjay. I think every one of us realize how important marketing is, how important multi-channel is with the entire customer base moving on to mobiles and different channels that you talked about, maybe app or SMS, email. If not email, then how can I bring him back on my social media platform, right? So that's great to know. Now, coming back to why banks are not moving. So because fintechs have until they reach certain lending scenario, they don't have to be compliant with a lot of things. So that makes it a little easier. But compared to banks, with from your perspective, there are so many regulations, RBI, SEBI, IRDBT that you talked about. So what has been your experience? How easy or difficult it is for banks to adopt cloud with all these compliances in place? I know we have been working with AWS and Azure on a continuous basis. We know how to convince customers, but how has been your experience with banks to enforce them? Because we still see there is a lot of repulsion in terms of moving their core banking applications. We still see all the supporting applications like chatbots or even the ML-based reach-out mechanisms that are happening to their customers or analytics that is happening on the cloud. But when it comes to actual banking applications, from compliance perspective, what is your view? It's been too many compliances right now.
Yeah. Athreya, as I mentioned that definitely there is a hesitation for banks to go for a full-fledged cloud adoption, but it's already happening where we are able to give them the conviction and the assurance from the technology platform that it addresses the core fear issues that you have in terms of meeting the obligations and ask from the data privacy part. And that is basically being answered with use of the technologies like encryption, tokenization, data masking. That solves one of the problem area in that. Then they are looking at data at rest encryption, data in motion, data in transit, which also needs to be secured. So when the technology that we provide is able to help them achieve all these objectives, definitely they are considering to adopt the journey in cloud with that assurance. An important point that also is relevant here is that they have invested heavily on on-premise infrastructure, where data centers are huge and banks have a large customer base. So they are into fix that, do I need to invest into two separate technologies, one for on-prem and other for cloud, or can we have a single technology platform that addresses similar concerns for my on-prem as well as on cloud? And that is where the Thales Cipher Trust platform really gives them that advantage of addressing the data security concern areas for on-prem as well as for on-cloud. And the first step that starts is to identify and discover where your sensitive data is. Because most organizations are not aware where all PII data is spread. So it helps you to first discover and classify it. And basis of that, you are able to take that call of risk mitigation, whether I need to do data encryption, or I need to tokenize this data, or I need to mask this data, or I need to leave it as in the clear. So that decision is again fulfilled by the same a platform with with a very simple graphical user interface control that it gives to you. And then the last and most important, the key management and the automation part that I talked about, which helps you to address the life cycle of the encryption processes and helps you to abide by all these regulatory checks, which are very critical for data security journey in cloud. So these are enablers for cloud adoption, and I'm very optimistic that going forward in 2 to 3 years, you would see definitely bank overcoming these hesitations and moving more or more sensitive workloads in cloud.
Great, thank you. So lastly, I mean, we are running out of time. One more question each to each one of you. Given some of you're talking to banking industries, financial institutions, what are their main security concerns, and how is MoEngage enabled to deal with these issues overall?
So as I addressed earlier, so security concern is like, hey, is my PII data secure? Is it getting compromised? Are there chances of data leakage? Is it being accessed by someone else? Or as simple as we're talking about the compliance language, that I can't give my PII data itself to you. So we are flexible in all the situations in perspective, okay, no problem, you can keep your PII data with you. We are more interested in improving or as we say, there's a research which MoEngage has published, and I think all of you all should read that. So it's banking in the era of connected customer. So it kind of speaks about, what is it that we are doing? How's the, like, for example, if you see 97% of millennial prefer access banking on mobile app as compared to 89% of the retail customers who are coming for banking transaction and things like that. So in such a scenario, what we try to do is understand more of the behavioral aspect of these customers. And it is the behavioral data which we have been storing with ourselves and trying to use it to personalize, use it to, to trigger or do real-time trigger communications, which is absolutely contextual. And it's not a spray and pray or a bulk email or, irrelevant multiple notification on a day. Everything has its own journey, has its own conditions defined, has its own automations, which is checked and monitored. That's the data which we have been taking care of, and hence security is not compromised. And wherever PII is required, we are addressing that. And as Ved said, the key management system, the encryption, the 256 bits, encryption at rest, and encryption at transit, or for that matter, two-factor authentication, all the necessary. I think so one more important part of compliance. Today, I'll just take a few seconds.
Yeah.
Today, banks are evolved, insurance companies are evolved, fintechs, there's no question asked. We work with a lot of fintech firms, but besides being evolved, they have some very hard InfoSec team out there who come with 150, 250 questionnaires about VAPTs, about SOC 2s, about ISOs, about data methods, policies, who are the two guys managing the keys and things like that. We work very closely with InfoSec team of whichever bank it is, India or global, GDPR or RBI regulation. We work closely, we address all these queries. Wherever required, we have kind of changed things within our environment also to accommodate those compliance requirements.
Great. So, Ved, quickly, a minute or so to you. What are the most, given that you are working with a lot of large banks, what are the recent use cases where you talked about data sovereignty, data protection? What has been some of your use cases which has helped some of the banks? If you can share maybe one or two, and then we can kind of...
Absolutely, Athreya. So one of the largest private sector banks have moved their CRM to cloud, and that's where the concern was to protect the PII data residing in the cloud. And then they implemented the Cypher Trust platform to meet the clearance from the regulatory compliance mandate that they own the control of the encryption keys residing in for the data in cloud, as well as it becomes an enabler for the other sensitive workloads to basically move in this cloud environment. So that has been the first use case to begin with. Going forward, more and more of workloads which have this PII data component needs to be protected by using this approach called bring your own keys, which is what Thales Cypher Trust platform provides. And then there are certain scenarios where they have gone for infrastructure as a service environment, where they have brought their own encryption process rather than relying or using the encryption offered by cloud service provider. So it's bring your own encryption, which has helped, again, the large banks in securing the data at rest use cases for any of the sensitive workload that's moving in cloud. So majority of the banks have addressed on the number one concern that I mentioned on data sovereignty, because they are owning the keys, so they have the control and authority for the data. Second, as I mentioned, meeting the RBI and IDRBT mandate on cloud security and data governance framework that helps them to have the confidence, the total control from the ownership perspective. Third, from the automation that brings a lot of help in overcoming the manual-based, error-prone, and increasing the efficiency of the staff and the resources. And helps to accelerate or save the cost in that process. So these have been really important to for the banks where we have contributed in their cloud journey.
Great, thanks, Ved. So just to summarize, guys, I think we are just about time. So first thing is, cloud is an enabler for us to move forward. There are different ways. We have Rapider is one such company which will help you to move your banking or fintech companies efficiently on cloud. There are tools available like Thales Group's security platform to engage it completely, to do it better. And of course, there are ISVs like MoEngage and many others which will help you to overall structure it better, make use of cloud, do the right analysis, and bring the most of your business. So given that, thanks a lot, Sanjay. Thanks, Ved, for your time. Look forward.
Thanks, Athreya.
Have a nice
Thank you.
day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Hope you guys.
Thanks, everyone.